Can this really cheap all-in-one device from Topping be a heart of your audio system? Let's find out. Now, what we have here today is Topping MX3, and this is not your usual DAC plus headphone amp combo. No, this is the full-fledged integrated amplifier that can drive your speakers. And it has integrated DAC and headphone output and Bluetooth connection, and all of that costing just a bit over $100. Now, let's start from the back panel. As you can immediately see, we have three-way binding posts for speakers that can accept 4mm banana plugs and also spades by screwing them here, or naked wires. But you should be aware that holes for naked wires are quite small, so if you have any thicker cables, you will need to have spades or banana plugs. Here on the right, you can see Bluetooth antenna connection and power inlet. Quite big power brick with decently long cables is supplied in the box, and that's great. On the left, we can see all the usual digital inputs: USB, optical and coaxial. Also, there is a subwoofer output. And last pair of connections here, they're actually auxiliary input, so you can connect any analog audio signal here, for example another DAC, and use MX3 just as an integrated amplifier or headphone amplifier. There is no analog output though, so you cannot use it as a DAC only. But honestly, why would you? This is all-in-one device, and there are better DAC-only devices out there if that's what you need. On the front, we have simple layout. There is a small 3.5mm headphones output that honestly doesn't look like much, but it works. There's huge display and control knob of quite nice quality. The whole device looks great and it is nicely built. It feels like a more expensive device than it really is. You also get a remote control, which is quite cheap and plasticky, but it gets the job done. Actually, most of the time, because once it just refused to work for a few seconds, then it continued by itself, and I still don't know why that happened. Maybe it was the smartphone interference or something like that. Anyway, you can choose inputs, control volume, in very fine steps actually, from 0 to 100. You can also control treble and bass levels, and this device can do a lot of things, and overall functionality is great. Everything I tried worked as expected, but I will not go into details about every function because I'm sure you can find that by yourself or in any other reviews. Instead, I'll focus on most important thing, sound quality. So I hooked it to my PC using USB, and Windows 10 recognized it without any drivers. Then I connected my speakers, took the usual spot on the couch, and pushed play, expecting nothing much from this small box feeding my big floor standing speakers. But music is starting and I hear energy, I hear dynamics, I hear lots of details, and I'm like, wow, this is better than I expected it to be. It doesn't sound washed up or weak in any way, and I have to admit that price and size led me to expect some flat, lifeless sound. But no, it's clear, it's lively, it can go really loud with my 90 decibel speakers. And bass is punchy, mids are present and clean, and highs, they are detailed, but also too hot. Like biting my ears off hot. Fortunately, there's bass and treble control on board, as I mentioned, So I dialed the treble down to -4, as you can see. So that helped, and now it sounds much more natural, in my opinion. Now, listening it further, I noticed that MX3 creates big and wide soundstage. Joined with good energy, it's filling my room with some really decent sound that is in complete disproportion with the small appearance of the unit. It's simply great. Now, it really does have some shortcomings. First of all, even after dialing down the treble as I showed you, it still stays on a shrill side of things, and sibilance is often heard in both male and female vocals. Some hot s, sh, and so on are inevitable with this unit. And if you dial down treble even further, you're just going to lose highs and details altogether before actually solving this hissing problem. So it seems like there's some unwanted distortion creeping in higher mid-range and highs. Now, if I compare it to my personal integrated amp, I find out that the bass line is not as deep and precise, that mids are not as full and fluid, etc. But this thing costs just about $100. And I feel stupid even mentioning what is not at the same level compared to my 15 times more expensive amp, which even nowadays on a second-hand market still comes at some 4 to 5 times the price of this little thing. So, mostly impressed by the power, dynamics and sound stage through my speakers, I went on to test headphone output next, and I connected my AKG K92s. So, let me tell you, there is definitely enough power to drive them. But I must say I'm not that happy with the sound quality overall. It's kinda dry and grainy in the mid-range and highs. So I switched back to some other devices like FX Audio DAC X6, and I hear much fuller and more fluid sound coming from the same set of cans. And let me tell you that these AKGs sound warm and fluid in their nature. So, if I'm getting dry and grainy sound from them, I can only imagine what would happen with some naturally bright and sharp sounding pair of cans. So this headphone output is roughly in line with what you'd get from small USB dongles like SMSL IDEA or Savage DA2 that take their signals directly from the DAC chip and have no dedicated amp section. It just can't match any better DAC plus headphone amp like FX Audio DAC X6, topping NX4, the X3 Pro, and so on. They all offer greater dynamics, fuller and more fluid sound. I played with the unit some more then. Tried Bluetooth connection, which works nice, hooked up my reference DAC, Khadas tone board, and honestly I didn't observe any meaningful benefits from doing so. I could actually hear slightly more relaxed sound compared to onboard DAC, but nothing worth mentioning or investing in a separate DAC. Obviously, onboard one is a good match for the amp section, and you shouldn't spend your money for anything else that may or may not sound like 5% better, if that much. So, I'm trying to summarize my feelings about the MX3. If you're mostly a headphone user, it's not going to cut it in my opinion. There are much better options for that in the same price range. Just look at my previous reviews and you'll find several of them. But if you need it to drive your speakers, it's a very good all-in-one DAC plus integrated amp, especially for the money. before hearing it, if somebody were to ask me for an entry-level system build on a really tight budget, I would recommend them some cheaper DAC plus some second-hand integrated amp from the likes of NAD, Rotel, Marantz, etc. But now, hearing this small, versatile and cheap combo that actually sounds livelier, punchier and cleaner than most of these old entry-level amps, I would just ask that person, can you live with some sibilance creeping in from time to time? Because if you can tolerate a little bit sharper voices, you should hear the MX3. It really sounds great. Just add some nice, let's say $200 speakers and you're ready to go. Now, I would strongly advise against pairing it with any metal dome tweeters or any similarly bright speakers, because that could easily get too bright and too edgy. You don't want that, trust me. So, if you're building the system around MX3, think darker speakers, think soft dome tweeters and so on. That should click nicely with the edgy and sharp signature of MX3 and you should get like really decent, detailed and lively sound. So that would be it for today, guys. If you like these reviews, please subscribe, share this video so you can help this channel grow and bring more similar reviews. Until next time.